future of smartphone photography is closer than you think. And you're going to see what we did there in a second, because this is the P30 and the P30 Pro. And the big new feature here is a zoom lens that can go 10 times closer. Hybrid zoom 10x. Let's take a closer look again. See what we did there at these two. So here's the P30 again in breathing crystal. Inside is the Huawei Kirin 980 processor, which we've seen obviously run the Mate 20 Pro and is their flagship processor at the moment, packed with artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence works across the board throughout the EMUI 9.1 operating system. Through the camera, the AI will boost the night mode. It will also boost the optical image stabilization using artificial intelligence, again making those night shots come out superbly. Huawei's even talking about different deals with car manufacturers. Audi has been mentioned. If you own a particular Audi, there's a chance you'll be able to use your Huawei P30 to unlock and start your car. We're not sure how that's going to work yet, but it certainly sounds pretty exciting. On the bottom of both phones is a USB Type-C charger. If we go back to a P30 Pro here, the P30 Pro differs from the P30 with its charging. P30 Pro has got Huawei's 40-watt supercharge system, and that's really pretty impressive. It's still one of our favorites. That's 0 to 70% in about 30 minutes. And we use this fairly regularly, and those claims are genuine. You've also got 15-watt wireless charging and reverse charging, so if you place another device on top of your Huawei phone, it will do wireless charging, provided of course both support wireless charging. So how about round the front? Well, this is a 6.47 inch screen, and it has a 2340 by 1080 pixel resolution. It's an OLED panel and it looks beautiful, certainly incredibly bright. We've got this turned way down and it certainly blows the camera out as soon as we turn that display right up. The front is different, you'll notice too, because there's an in-display fingerprint sensor. The P20 Pro, which of course this phone replaces, had a fingerprint sensor underneath the screen. Adding an in-display fingerprint sensor gives you much more screen real estate on the front. But you'll notice there is a notch at the top of the screen right there, and that's got a 32 megapixel camera inside. Now if you've used the Mate 20 Pro, you've probably been disappointed on more than one occasion by the fingerprint sensor. Huawei tells us that it's much improved here, and certainly in our tests at the moment, as you can see here, this is pretty accurate and it's certainly fast. There's face unlocking too, but we'd rather use a secure system like a fingerprint sensor, and there in this entirely unscientific tests, that's a pretty responsive fingerprint sensor, and the more we do that, the more we're liking it. How about the body? If you've held the Mate 20 Pro, then really you've held the P30 Pro, because they're very similar. In terms of size, they're almost identical. Let's have a look at a Mate 20 Pro next to it, and you can see that they are very similar in size. It's a little tiny bit wider for the P30, but not very much. It has this wonderful curved glass on the rear, just tapering enough but not sharply that this is comfortable to hold in your hand. There's still that issue with it being quite low down here. Huawei's actually moved the fingerprint sensor lower down in the screen. We're not sure whether that's going to help ergonomics yet. Certainly with two hands it's fine, but with one, maybe not. We'll see. Something to look at long term. How about these colours? Excuse those fingerprints, as you can see it gets fingerprinty quickly. This is the classic Aurora look. Seen it on the P20, seen it on the P20 Pro and other Huawei and Honor devices. Looks wonderful, but there are two new colours for the P30 and P30 Pro. This is Amber Sunrise. Now Huawei's gone a bit flashy with what it calls its colours. It's even said that this whole process is something called transcendent iridescence. Transcendent iridescence. You tell us what that means. No idea. But what it does mean when you look at these phones is how stunning the colour choices are. This is really fabulous. A burning sun in your hand. Really lovely. Outside of that, you've got this, which has got another silly name. This is called breathing crystal, which, what else would it be? What it is a blue that fades into a lighter blue. And again, really beautiful. The phone we just picked up is the P30. Differs slightly to the P30 Pro in that it's got a triple lens camera on the back. The triple lens camera loses out a little bit. It still has the 40 megapixel main super spectrum lens. It has a 16 megapixel ultra wide and an 8 megapixel telephoto, but this time it does 3 times optical zoom. It doesn't do that 5 times, 10 times stuff, so you are losing out on that, but you still get the super spectrum lens, so it should be pretty good in low light. The phone itself is smaller. This is a 6.1 inch screen, but it's the same resolution and another OLED panel. The phone itself actually is really quite manageable. It's smaller, so think of this as the challenger, of course, to the Galaxy S10 and the Galaxy S10 Plus. So the final colour that we've got here is the black version. It's a classic. It's not as exciting as the others, but if you're not wanting to make a song and dance about owning a Huawei phone, then you choose the black. There's also a white version, a pure white, that we haven't seen yet. It's not here at our demo. So those are the 4 colours at the moment that you can see. And probably you will want to buy the Amber Sunrise or the Breathing Crystal. And once you do buy them, please never say those colour names again. Having a closer look at the design, you can see here that it is flattened off at the top and the bottom of the device. Quite an unusual choice. It makes probably life much easier for plugging cables in and finding out where ports are for the SIM card. Another error here. You can see the microphone is right next to the SIM card tray, so be careful whenever you plug a SIM removal tool in and not to do that into the microphone. So let's talk about what makes this camera special. As usual with Huawei's top camera smartphones, this has been tuned by Leica, and there are 4 lenses on the back. The main lens is another 40 megapixel camera with an f1.6 aperture and optical image stabilization. It's joined by a 20 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide lens, and then here is where it gets special. This is a brand new 8 megapixel 5 times optical periscope zoom lens. There's actual depth to this. You probably can't see very well here, but it's deep inside the body, and the periscope avoids that problem of a telephoto lens coming in and out of a body, and instead moves up and down, in theory, inside. It actually magnifies the image through a series of mirrors and bounces them off of vertically arranged lenses inside before it gets to here. Then this gives a 5 times optical zoom or a 10 times hybrid zoom, enabling you to get in much closer to your subjects. How effective is it? Well, we've taken some samples that you can have a look at now. So here's your standard photo, and then we will move without my fingers against the screen. This is now a 5 times zoom. So you can see there's plenty of detail, and that image is from the top corner there. So we go to 5 times and we go to 10 times, and the quality is still superb. There's actual detail and texture to this, which is a painting on the wall. You can still see that there's proper colours. There's no real loss of quality. In our limited test there, that's an impressive debut. We look forward to doing a lot more photos with the 5 times and 10 times zoom on this camera. The 40 megapixel lens is not unchanged. It's what Huawei is calling a super spectrum lens. Without getting into too much detail, what it's done is swap the normal RGB collection of light, which is one red, one blue, two green systems of absorbing light, and it's swapped that out for what it calls RYYB, which adds yellow instead of green. And what that does is effectively let in 40% more light. More light means greater detail, and the end result of your photos will be better. Not only this, you've got those three lenses there, and you're wondering where the fourth lens is. Well, it's this here, and it's technically not a camera lens. What it is a time of flight sensor. We've been seeing a few of these in various different smartphones, one from Huawei's sub-brand Honor, the Honor View 20. And what this does, along with this sensor underneath here, they work almost as a sonar. It sends out waves to detect the distance between it and other objects. The time of flight sensor gives much, much better definition in your bokeh shots, and it allows better focus, and it allows better low light photos. If you're going to take one thing away from the camera, it's that it takes better photos closer and in low light. Now we realise that's an awful lot to take in. Lots of information about two devices. So here's a quick recap. We've got the two hero models here, the Breathing Crystal and the Amber Sunrise, the P30 and the P30 Pro. The big difference between the two, screen size, it's 6.1 inch on the P30 and 6.47 inch on the P30 Pro. And on the rear, you have a triple lens camera on the P30 and a quad lens camera, when actually it's three lenses plus a time of flight sensor on the P30 Pro. The P30 Pro has got that super special 5 times optical zoom or 10 times hybrid zoom. Both will take spectacular low light shots with what Huawei calls the super spectrum lens. And you're going to get that with 40 megapixels on both cameras. So which one do you want? Well, we're going to have to wait to test them out properly, but we think that hybrid zoom, that's looking very special indeed. As always with Huawei, we never know availability or price until the launch event, and we're shooting this just before. So you're going to have to wait until it's officially announced before knowing how much one of these is going to cost you. But expect them to be competing directly with Samsung's Galaxy S10 and the iPhone XS.